Heisman rankings. Kind of tough to find like a list I trust of Heisman rankings. So we're going to use On3's top 10 Heisman ranking poll that they put out. And in no particular order for me, because I think you could make a case for about half of these guys. From 10 to 1, Trinidad Chambliss for Ole Miss, Dante Moore for Oregon, number 8, Haynes King from Georgia Tech, Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame, Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State, Diego Pavia, Vanderbilt, Marcel Reed, Texas A&M, Julian Sain, Ohio State, Ty Simpson, Alabama, Fernando Mendoza, Indiana. Boys, is this the most is this the most wide open Heisman race in a decade?
All right, I promise I'm going to get you back to the episode, but I have to tell you about our title sponsor, Better. If you haven't yet, download the Better app. It doesn't have a bunch of messy menus, a bunch of stuff, a bunch of clutter. It's really easy. In fact, it's the first real microplay app. So let's say you're watching a game and you think the next pass is going to be an incompletion. You can place something on it right there. Yeah, it's simply that easy. So download the Better app and use code WASHED, WASHED, code WASH, and you're going to get a special offer. Plus, they're always doing a lot of really cool promos, and you don't want to miss them. So download the Better app, use code WASHED.
Feels like no one wants to win it. I mean, Jeremiah Love has started to kind of be the running back that I think everybody thought he was going to be at the beginning of the season. He had a little bit of a slow start, and I think part of it was due to I didn't really understand what Notre Dame was trying to do offensively for like the first 3 weeks of the season. But, I mean, as of late, you know, he's had that 94-yarder. He had that one run this last Saturday where he literally sat on the defenders and, like, rolled around, kind of like Michael Dyer did when Auburn won that national championship like a decade ago. I can't even remember when that game was.
Dude, they won like 7 on a Tuesday.
Oh, that's true. That is true. This was one of the ones that they actually played in and won. And then that was like a 50-something yarder, 60-something yard touchdown. Like, Jeremiah Love has very much like turned into what you would expect a Heisman Trophy winner to look like, right? But obviously, like, I still think the best player in the country in the sport of college football is Jeremiah Smith. And I will hold to that. He has circus catches every week. He's now back-to-back weeks. He's had 16 catches in his last 2 weeks for like 340-something yards and like 3 touchdowns, I think. Just spectacular statistics on his end. But yeah, I think it's between those two. If we're talking about like the best player in the country, which is what the Heisman Trophy is supposed to be. But again, it has really turned into which quarterback's the best and popularity contest. Granted, Travis Hunter did win last year, but outside of that, you can't really name it. And actually, one interesting statistic, every single year that ends with a 5, a running back has won the Heisman Trophy award. Dating back to like 1925 or whenever the first Heisman Trophy was awarded. Like dating all the way back to the earliest 5-year. A running back wins every time that it is a 15, 25, 35, 45. So if history repeats itself, looks like Jeremiah Love's your Heisman winner. Congratulations, Jeremiah. Shout out Notre Dame.
What I think is wild, Steve, is there is not one of the guys that was on our preseason list on this list. Not one.
And Garrett Nussmeier, that was my like high pick. I mean, even if I look at this list, I can only think of like maybe 3 QBs, out of this whole list to keep in conversation, just as at the moment being Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson, Diego Pavia, or a fourth one, Marcel Reed. But I mean, man, Jeremiah Smith, like he's NFL ready right now. I think just watching him play, and I'd put him over those 4 guys I just mentioned as of right now. Clutchness, everything's there. I think he's Stress. This is his sophomore year, right?
Yeah, he's 19. He'll turn 20 the
insane.
day 2 days before the game.
Yeah. I mean,
So
it's just
That makes me
I
want
would
to
even maybe put him and
highlight.
Jeremiah Love over those four, which is crazy.
Yeah, and I don't understand the Fernando Mendoza. I know if we put this video out, Indiana fans are going to get mad at me. You don't get to claim a Heisman moment game-winning drive against Penn State, who was playing a backup quarterback with no coach who outplayed you the entire game.
yeah,
That
he
is
did
not
not
a
look
Heisman
good
moment.
that whole game.
Like a Heisman moment is like it's a slugfest of a game between two great teams and you lead a game-winning drive, not a slugfest between a team who half the guys are going to transfer on the roster probably. They don't know who their head coach is and they're playing a backup. That's called we played really bad. We have a good quarterback that put it together for one drive to win a football game. I don't understand the thought process there. I think of the quarterbacks on this list, the one that has impressed me the most that feels like he just came out of nowhere is Ty Simpson.
Yeah, he's been awesome. And he's faced, probably the toughest schedule of any of these quarterbacks that are on this list.
Yep.
And has done really well against those said schedules. So, I mean, if I were to give it to a quarterback and I'm not allowed to pick my quarterback because my quarterback is first in pretty much every single QB statistics in the country. If I weren't allowed to pick Julian Sayin, I would probably go with Ty Simpson or Marcel Reed. I would go with one of those two.
Honorable mention, I think, needs to go to Haynes King. We look at the Heisman as kind of the MVP, and he's kind of having like one of those. And I don't want to say Georgia Tech doesn't have a whole lot, but it's Georgia Tech. This isn't Georgia, and he has put together an unbelievable season for a team that no one thought would have a good year like they have had. Problem is he plays in a conference that's not good.
Yeah.
And that's going to probably, hurt him. Trinidad Chambliss. I mean, they didn't even play him the entire. Ole Miss played quarterback. That's so wild.
Yeah, his issue is going to be just overall body of work. He hasn't had enough numbers.
You could even
he's
make
awesome,
the case maybe for UConn's quarterback, Joe Fagnano, I think so I say his last name. He's having the best season.
He hasn't thrown an interception this season, right?
No, after 3 more TDs and a win over Duke, Joe now has 25 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions.
That is.
I don't care if you're playing like Middle Tennessee every week. That's hard to do.
That ratio is infinite.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, Marcel Reed is going to have an opportunity, just like Julian's saying, because they both have their biggest game as far as national exposure is still on the schedule. Texas A&M's got to play Texas. Ohio State's got to play Michigan. So that's going to be really, really interesting. Ty Simpson has got, a good defense that he's got to play this week in Oklahoma. So it'll be interesting to see what he gets to do. The only way thing that is going to make it hard from a national perspective for people to not look at Fernando Mendoza is they don't play anybody the rest of the year. Like that's it. This is their season's over unless they just crap down their own leg until the playoff.
Yeah, because voting happens after conference championship weekend, right?
Yes.
So I think this Heisman race, unless Jeremiah Love goes off the next 3 weeks, then it's going to come down to which quarterback plays the best during rivalry week, and which quarterback continues that success through their conference championship game.
Yeah.
Because I think right now you could look at the 4 quarterbacks at the top, right? Marcel Reed, Ty Simpson, probably going to play each other in the SEC championship game. Julian Sayin, Fernando Mendoza, probably going to play each other in the Big Ten championship game. So, I mean, by virtue of just those games itself, you'll get to watch 4 quarterbacks during 2 games, and you can look with your eyes and say, this quarterback is better than this quarterback, and then compare the better two quarterbacks from both of those conference championship games and say, I think this is the best quarterback in the country.
That'll be the eye test right there. Those
But
two
again,
games that happens.
we're having this conversation, about quarterbacks. Jeremiah Smith could go out against Michigan, put up 250 yards and 4 touchdowns, and go out in the Big Ten championship and do it again. And I think his name will be catapulted to the top.
Yeah, and especially since nationally there'll be a lot of eyeballs on him for the simple fact of last year he just didn't play well against Michigan. The offense could figure out how to get him the ball. Michigan played uncharacteristically well in covering him, and then when he did have balls thrown in his direction, I mean, you watched the game. I went back, watched some of the highlights. Sometimes it was like a surprise to him that he got himself open enough to get the football, and that's tough sometimes. I mean, I've watched it happen at the NFL level with guys like CD Lamb, where they'll uncharacteristically have a rough game, and then you'll look at it and go, man, they're having to work so hard just to get open that sometimes they don't think they're going to get the ball. And so there'll be that'll be a storyline going into that game, which will put a lot of eyeballs on him. And then if he has a typical Jeremiah Smith game, then people will do it. And, I and we said it, Strez and I were talking this morning. I would love to see a running back win it this year, because I think Jeremiah Love is more NFL ready than any running back we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years. Because every time I watch him, I still think he has got upside. I don't think he's peaked.
Yeah. I think, Jeremiah Love in my brain is of that Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley mold.
Yeah.
Where he can be an every down back. He can catch the ball in the backfield. He can do literally everything. And I think you're absolutely right. I don't think he has peaked at all. And I mean, he's on the younger side too. So when he does get into the pros, he's going to be able to be some teams running back one for a very long time.
And he's got that body type where you look at it and go, this guy can still put weight on. He's got a body type he can put weight on. So if a quarterback doesn't win it, or it's not Jeremiah Smith, I would love to see Jeremiah Love win it. But I would love to see someone like a Haynes King or Diego Pavia at least get to New York, because I do think this is a very much a year where everyone is saying this is the post blue blood era of college football. And I think that's not true. I think it's just the blue bloods haven't figured out all with the new era of college football with the rev share. I think that'll all end up shaking itself out in the end. But I want to be able to look back on this and go, man, remember when Vanderbilt had a quarterback in New York? Isn't that crazy? So, it's going to be very interesting. And I still think that there's some quarterbacks that are not on this list that give it another 2 or 3 weeks. And you're going to have to put some of them on this list, especially with the way BYU's playing, with the way Texas Tech is playing. You're going to have to start looking at some of these other teams, and you can't just say it's a system thing. It can't always just be a system thing. So it's going to be very interesting. If you're watching this, if you have a favorite, put it in the comments, because the entire Heisman rankings kind of reminds me of the SEC conference. I don't know.
Yeah, same with the ACC. No idea. Big 12? No idea.
No idea.
No clue what's happening.